Welcome everyone. As you start popping on, I see the numbers are ticking up. Thank you for joining us. We will get started. We'll give it about a minute or so to let everyone log on. We have a great group registered today, and we will jump right into things in about a minute or so. Alrighty, well, I don't want to waste any more time because I want to jump into our discussion today, which is on the return of arts and entertainment in Milwaukee. So it's no secret, it's been a year and a half for this group of dealing with all sorts of unknowns. So we are so excited to have this all-star panel assembled to talk to you guys and share their perspectives on what this last year and a half or so has looked like and what is yet to come for them. So thank you all for being here. My name is Kelsey Aragon, and I am the Director of Member Experience and Engagement here at Tempo. Thank you to our Tempo members, emerging women leaders, and guests for joining us today. Just some brief welcome remarks. For those not familiar with our Tempo Talk session, although I'm sure many of you have been on before, these are a monthly webinar series that feature Tempo members and community leaders from a variety of different industries and functions every month on the first or second Friday of the month from noon to 1 virtually. These webinars will continue to happen throughout the rest of the Tempo year, and they have really become just a staple of our Tempo programming offering, open to guests, members, and emerging women leaders. So thank you guys for being here. Attendees are muted and your videos are off, but we do encourage you to use the chat function in the Q&A box to still interact with one another and definitely interact with our panelists. We'll have some time at the end to take questions from all of you. So make sure that you fire up that chat and engage in that way. And then I want to give a big shout out to our Tempo Talks sponsor, BMO Harris Bank. They have been with us from the start of these Tempo Talks webinars, and they have been an incredible partner in bringing this programming offering to you guys in a virtual setting and then continuing on, again, like I said, for the rest of the year. So thank you to BMO for being an incredible sponsor and partner here. And now I will turn it over to our moderator today, Bridget Frommel from Lutheran Social Services. I'll have her hop on the screen here and introduce our incredible panelists. Bridget serves on our programming committee and is previously the chair of the committee. She's been instrumental in bringing programs to you all throughout the pandemic and beyond. So thank you, Bridget, and I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Kelsey. Can you hear me and see me? I think my screen is on. Okay, good. My video is on. Good. Well, welcome everybody. Excited to be with you today. Thanks, Kelsey, for that introduction. Yeah, I've been a member since about 2018, and I just want to give a big shout out and plug to all your Tempo members out there. If you're interested in getting to know Tempo members at a more deeper level and bring programming, the programming committee is a really fun way to do that. So if you're interested in getting involved, don't hesitate to reach out to Kelsey or myself. We do have an amazing group discussion today and panelists, and I want to jump in because we don't have too much time. The hour is going to go by really quick. So just a quick opening sort of remarks. And again, remember to put your questions in the chat. We're going to hold 15 minutes at the end for that. So in front of you today, Sarah Smith-Pancheri, Christine Honacki, and we will hopefully be joined by LaShondra Vernon in a little while. There's been a lot of technical glitches today. So we're working through, we're powering through because that's the kind of leaders that we are. So these fantastic leaders are sought after arts and entertainment leaders, huge events happening right now and just around the corner in Milwaukee. So Thank you both, Sarah and Christine, for joining us, for spending some time with us. The audience is going to be, the guests are going to be just, you know, chatting up, entering those questions, because I know there's going to be a lot to share, and we're all curious about how it's been for you the last 18 months. And so, you know, one other comment I would make to the guests before we kind of start introductions is, you know, thinking about what we learned about during prep calls is we're really focusing on what is today. You know, we're not predicting the future. We're talking about the past, and we're talking about what we know today, because as we're all following guidelines and we're all doing the best, that's really what the focus of our discussion will be today. So I'm excited to hear more about that. And Leanne Foster will come in later to help us moderate the Q&A panel. So Christine, I'll ask you to unmute, and then we'll go to Sarah after that. But Christine, if you wouldn't mind, you know, just giving folks an intro about UPAF, sort of the structure, what you think we should know about UPAF. And then we'll go to Sarah, and so, you know, talk about the structure of Summerfest and Milwaukee World Festival. And then we can dive into more of the questions around mobilization and demobilization. So yeah, Christine, go ahead and unmute. Let us know about UPAF. What should we know?
Thank you, Bridget, and thank you, Tempo. Hello, Tempo members. Really great to be here. Well, let me just say, I'm Christine Honacki. I'm the Chief Advancement Officer for the United Performing Arts Fund, and I oversee much of our strategy for our fundraising efforts, as well as for our marketing and some of our big events, as you know, like the Ride for the Arts. So it is feel like it's a huge responsibility that I have, really supporting the community and this great assets that we have with our performing arts. So many of you on the call may already be familiar with UPAF, and thank you for your support. Really appreciate that. For those of you who may not know UPAF, we are a fundraising organization, and our mission is to sustain, promote, and lift up the world-class performing arts that we have right here in Milwaukee. And we do have world-class performing arts. If anyone on this call has not been to one of our member groups, please go check them out. We have 14 members who receive funding, and we are the single largest donor to all of our groups. Our largest groups, which I'll call out, are our cornerstones. They include the Milwaukee Rep, the Milwaukee Ballet, the MSO, and everybody's dying to get into the Bradley Symphony Center, that brand new, beautiful building, the First Stage Skylight Music Theater, and the Florentine Opera. A new member this year, and I wanted to call them out just because we're on the heels of Bronzeville Week, and the Milwaukee Black Arts Festival is Black Arts MKE. They are doing such great work in our community, lifting up and supporting Black artists and culture through performance. They're just doing some amazing work. The other thing I just wanted to say briefly is one thing that people don't know is it's not just about on the stage. I mean, we have all of these artists in our community. They perform at a number of venues, not just our members. A lot of them are involved in Bronzeville Week, the Black Arts Festival, but we also have community impact programs, and there's teaching artists that are all throughout our community, in our schools, in our nonprofits, and we also raise dollars to fund them as well. And that programming is done through all of our members. So that's UPAF Bright Minds, it supports arts education, UPAF Connect, which is partnerships with local nonprofits, and then Casey's Fund, and that's all about accessibility and for people that have disabilities so that they can have access to the arts. So that's just a little snippet about UPAF.
And so in terms of structure, thank you, Christine. In terms of structure, you have about how many employees and then how many, so overall organization-wide?
Yeah, our overall organization. So UPAF has 24 employees, and we are a small and mighty team. We raise around $11 million every year. We are in our campaign because we're 3 weeks away from ending our 2021 campaign. And it's the second campaign that I have gone through now in the pandemic. So it has been an interesting ride.
Thank you, Christine, so much. Looking forward to learning more about that whole last 18 months. Now, Sarah, would you mind? I mean, we all see your title and what a beautiful title it is. This is your second time working at the Milwaukee World Festival. Could you talk a little bit about your professional background, your role, and then I just keep thinking about the word world. It's not just Milwaukee, right? We talked about that. So would you mind sharing a little bit more?
Sure, and thanks again, Bridget. And it's really fun to do this with Christine. In Milwaukee fashion, we've known each other through various points in our career, and it's just really fun to work with you on this, because I too worked at UPath. So it's just in a very Milwaukee way. We're all very connected. And so actually it's apropos, because from UPath, I came to Milwaukee World Festival 20 some years ago, and worked here. A woman named Bo Black at the time ran the organization, and she and I worked for her, was able to learn a lot about PR and marketing through her, and also worked for another fabulous woman named Julie Pagenkoff, who really helped me in the sponsorship game. So I did that work, for I think 7 years. Left the organization, went to Marquette University, worked for another fabulous woman named Julie Tolan. As you can tell, there's a theme for me. I've been fortunate to work with just really, really wonderful women leaders. But we'll give it to Vincent Lyles, because from Marquette University, I went over to the Boys and Girls Clubs and worked with Vincent there. And then Don Smiley actually brought me back to Milwaukee World Festival in 2015. So I've been so fortunate, and would really credit all of those leaders for helping me, move my career along here in town. But in terms of our structure, we are, it's an interesting business, because we're a 42-person full-time staff that grows to about 2,000 people during the summer season. So we definitely have and we're fortunate that many of those people that come back and work with us year after year have great experience at the festival park. But we do have this dichotomy of our staff that is very different in terms of structure. Another unique thing about our structure is that we are a nonprofit organization. In our festival industry, it's very rare to have an independent nonprofit running a festival the size of Summerfest and running a park the size of Henry Meyer Festival Park. So again, just a very unique situation here, but one that I'm fortunate enough to be a part of. My role here is I lead our sales and marketing team, which includes, we pretty much say if it's not food, our team touches it. So we have everything from marketplace and ticketing programs and sponsorships, but we don't manage the food and beverage vendors. I also have the chief operations part of my title includes all of the operational teams, and those teams ladder up through me as well. So it's a great group. It's a small group with lots of experience, and we work really hard. And in particular, the past 18 months, we've all worked really hard.
It's incredible. I think thank you for that sort of large picture understanding, because I keep thinking about too, all the different festivals that happen on the grounds, and the number of not only like team members and staff that you touch and help and support and keep motivated, but all of the individuals across our community and across the country, probably in the world, that come to the grounds year over year, and that you're responsible for, making sure it has a great experience. So,
Well, and let me, I want to make sure I give all credit every time. And it's important to note that all of the festivals and many of the events, like a Pet Fest, those are all independently run. So the board at Pride Fest and at Black Arts MKE and Irish Fest, Mexican Fiesta, and the list goes on. Those are all independent organizations, often run by one staff member and a lot of volunteers. So the City of Festivals theme is really something that Milwaukee has cultivated over generations with lots and lots of people involved. So while we certainly steward today, it's really taken many, many people, many years to create what we have here in town.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
I just, Bridget, if I could comment on, just so everybody knows our history with Sarah, you mentioned about clothing or fashion and shopping. And I didn't mention prior that I was with Bon-Ton Stores and Boston Store. And yeah, I did. That was how Sarah and I connected originally. But I think it's also relevant just because I've been at UPath for 3 years. It has not been a long time. 2 of them have been in a pandemic, and also a transition of a CEO. So there has been a lot of change, but it really is a lot of good leaders that I've worked for. And when I was hired, I moved here to Milwaukee in 2002. And the Tempo group was the first group that I joined. So I've been a member for a very, very, very long time, and really grateful for that as well.
Thank you. It's so important that the spirit and I mean, as you know about Tempo, mentorship and those relationships that we have and hold dearly to our professional and personal lives really do matter. So it's awesome I'm grateful that you both pulled those notes forward. So let's talk a little bit about demobilization. And though it's demobilization, in a lot of ways, it's now mobilization. But if you could each take us back, and I guess we'll start with Sarah, take us back, reflecting back on, say, March of 2020, although for you it probably happened before. What specifics can you share about demobilization? I remember hearing during our prep call something like, Summerfest changed 4 times. But whatever, you think would be relevant for this group of professional women across our community to know, we're all ears. So, take us back to demobilization efforts.
Yeah, so despite the prep, Bridget, it still leaves you a little speechless, right? As I'm sure many people can relate to, because it was such a unique experience. And I can share that in our industry, in entertainment, it was truly, I mean, if anyone remembers, there's a few very large companies in the world, Live Nation being one of them, where it was just the earnings were just, I mean, the tours and the earnings and everything was just, ratcheting up for years. And then to have the proverbial music stop was just so stunning. So in terms of March, I remember, I can share a little bit of now it feels like it just happened yesterday. And we have children in our house. We have a small child. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know what she's watched today. I don't know what she's eaten today. I mean, it was like these days would just sort of blend. I mean, she was safe, obviously, in our home, but it was kind of like, hey, kiddo, best of luck. But it was really, the collaboration that took place as an industry was amazing because everyone was in the same boat. I think there was a very big equalizing factor that way. And the devastation of the event industry in 2020 it was universal. So, I think that you start from a place of everyone trying to get really creative really quickly and do what they could to help save people's livelihood. That was something that was really wonderful to see, if there's any sort of silver lining. Mm-hmm. The other piece of it for us was, okay, how do you pick up something and move it several times? And as you mentioned, I think that's been something as a leadership lesson, just in terms of, you didn't know, in our case, we didn't know what flexible was until we really got into trying to pick it up, move it again, pick it up, move it again, and appreciating that was going to have real impact on the bottom line. But also from a communication standpoint, really, you had to almost think, despite being in a moment that was changing and fluid, you had to think 3 steps ahead, because you didn't want to necessarily give yourself a situation that was going to be even more challenging if circumstances stayed the same. So from our standpoint, going back to March, it was really just, we all thought we'd be back in business. And I think the nature of this thing, in terms of how long it has lingered, and then in particular, the really difficult times that everyone experienced in fall, keeping people, our team, motivated and keeping people going through that was really was a challenging aspect, but everyone's really dedicated to the process. So Bridget, I'm not sure I'm landing on any particular hard point, but I think if anything, it's really, it was the fact that it was happening to everybody, which had never happened before in our industry. And then it was the creativity that came out of it. And then the long-standing keeping people engaged and motivated when you didn't really know what was going to happen next. Those were the priorities that as a team member on our team that I really prioritized.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sarah. Christine, are those themes resonating with you as you reflect back on the last 18 months?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure I can add a couple things, just because, it's the situation you were in at the time. What was your business in March of 2020? And our business, we're a fundraising organization. We fundraise, 24/7. And we just kicked off our campaign. So we kicked off our campaign the first week of March, and 2 weeks later we shut down and we're in a pandemic. We had our theme was a stage for all. We were really excited about what was going on with our performing arts groups, and things went dark. And I would say that, definitely processing a lot of information very quickly from a leadership perspective was really important. We were just like Sarah said, everybody was going through it at the same time. Everybody was trying to process what was going on, what they were not only going to do with their business, but with their employees and with their own families. And safety was obviously of utmost concern. It was really difficult. And, at the same time, we knew that the performing arts were going to be impacted significantly, and they were. And really, I laugh now because I was thinking about this question, and I remember when we thought that 500 performances were canceled, and we thought that would be, I thought, oh my gosh, how are we ever going to recover from that? It ended up being over 1,600 performances. Wow. So there was significant revenue loss, and when performances are canceled and then they didn't reopen, that's revenue that they would never make up. So so I laugh because our big first strategy, very quickly within weeks of the pandemic, was we turned our entire campaign into a virtual campaign. We do workplace giving campaigns with companies. I remember Northwestern Mutual kicked off their campaign, and all the performers were, with their employees, and that was the last one we saw that entire year. And so, other thing I would call out is just planning and execution became synonymous. We were always, and still are many times, planning and executing, because there's been so many changes. We're going back, we're not going back, we're coming, there's things, happening that we have no control over. So that became really important, that we could just make decisions and move forward. The other thing I would just call out is anybody on the call today that was out of their comfort zone for the last year and a half, it was probably the right place to be, because you had to be out of your comfort zone with your business and make bold decisions and move them forward.
Out of the comfort zone, it seems like the theme. And I don't know how many times I heard the word pivot in the last, 2 years. And I think it's still, we're using it every day, all day, and building the car and while you're driving it, all of those things. I think we're still there. And so how do you, and, I'm thinking about what LaShondra, I'm sorry to see she's not able to be with us, but, as Bronzeville Week is about to kick off next week, I just wanted to share with our members and guests on the call today. I'm just going to bring forward the words that I heard her say during prep, which are, the grittiness of the nonprofit culture, the ability to be resilient, the ability to collaborate, the desire and the need to collaborate and over communicate. And be vulnerable and share and just grind it out. To your point, Christine, you're making decisions, you're building plans, but you're executing on the same time. So I think LaShondra would say the same thing about her experience over the last year and a half as well. Go ahead.
Can I comment just because I think what's relevant for me on that is the discomfort, both how the discomfort professionally kind of helped me get through some things personally, because I think we're all, as women and people that are multitasking, you like to control your world. And as you kind of lost control, I think I learned some valuable lessons for me as a person, because it did teach, for me, patience it continues to be something I work on. As my family will point out to me, as I'm not very patient. But in a pandemic, you inherently have to become more patient. And so what I found was there's a lot of professional lessons that really helped me personally as well, because we had time it was like hurry up, wait all the time. And then how does that manifest itself, into your personal life, I found it that it was helpful. So for what it's worth, I think all the grit that you're talking about, it for me, it bled personally and professionally quite often.
Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it. And for adding on notes that you're hearing me say or each other say, especially in this Zoom world, it's important to just speak up. So thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate it. What about the question around, is there anything that you didn't add or would like to talk about revenue or expenses or fundraising or results? Anything that we didn't touch on there that you wanted the group to know about? And Christine, I'm thinking about, I'm so curious.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you said. I know LaShondra can't be here, and I know she talked about the grittiness and the scrappiness of nonprofits and small organizations, and that really did play out with the performing arts groups, right? So I want to sort of step back, if I can, just a little bit, because one of the other things that we did during this time that I think was one of the best decisions that we made. It didn't happen right after because we were processing and planning and executing and trying to get, things rolling, but it did happen. And that was bringing together a coalition of leaders, and it was within our sector and outside of our sector. So we had weekly meetings with all of our members. We brought in Medical College of Wisconsin, who was giving us regular updates on what was happening in the world with COVID-19 and eventually the vaccines. And then, we talked about PPP loans, learning from each other. Is there other funding available? One person may have learned about it, but they were able to share it. This kept all of these groups together, and they literally were piecing it together. We'll get this PPP loan, making decisions. Do we pay, our employees, our business? We need the core group. So there's lots of grittiness in that of trying to keep everything together. But this group and collaboration, to this day, this will never change. This was a result of the pandemic that I would say is a best practice as well.
Thank you, Christine. That is one of the questions that we had talked about in hoping to share with the group is, what are the best practices, or can one or two be named around what you learned or experienced during the last 18 months that you will not let go? And it sounds like you've named one. Sarah, do you have any that you as a team talk about and you're like, you know what? Yeah, this is just great. We're not letting this go.
Yeah, for us, it was more about at Milwaukee World Festival. It was more about examining what was driving revenue and what was working and what was relevant, and looking at how our business is going to operate today, and we anticipate will operate in the future. And for us, that came down to an announcement that we made last summer, which was that the festival would transition into a 3-weekend format. For us, a couple different reasons, it makes a lot of sense. Summerfest as an event that would exist for 11 days, taking Monday off, it just inherently, we all know it. There's a reason why restaurants are closed on Monday, right? We tend to do more from an entertainment standpoint later. I mean, there's a reason why, Christine, all the artists typically have shows on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? Like it's just how we entertain, how we consume entertainment. So for us, the transition to that model, we studied that a lot during the time we had during the COVID break. So that was a best practice that we believe came out of the time. We also, from a communication standpoint, I don't know if anyone else saw this in their teams, but just the value of people connecting, in particular people that maybe don't have a lot of family at home, or people that are, when I was younger, I was single. And in the beginning of the pandemic, it really was about being seen. If you're used to going to an office every day, and for me, it was just watching people say, okay, like I'm here, this, count me in, and I want to connect with other people. So I think that the importance of connection, and I know we're all a little fatigued about Zoom, but really I think it underscores this value of connection and making sure that we are reaching out and seeing people. So I think I do that differently now as a result of this, which would be a best practice for me. So real high level, the business changed. And then, you know, more on a personal level, just connecting.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. You know, I work from home most of the time, and so I'm on the road, you know, meeting with donors, bringing in resources, having conversations with companies. And I too have experienced a lot of the change in the last 18 months of going out and then stopping, going out and stopping. And so I love our Temple community, and you know, I'll put a shout in for the Temple coffee chats that Kelsey and everybody, you know, encourage us all to participate in, because your Temple members want to connect with you, and you'll never get it. My experience is you'll never get a no from a Temple member that says, hey, I'm a Temple member too, let's chat. So, you know, definitely lean into even those introverts out there, lean into your Temple membership, and, you know, really stay connected. That's wonderful. What about the idea of leadership pivoting internally or externally? So Christine, huge leadership change. With Patrick coming in, how are things going? You know, what should we know? You know, I worked for Patrick at Aurora Healthcare Foundation. He's a rock star. What should we know? Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. This would be really interesting to share. Well, first of all, Patrick is a rock star, and it has been a lot of change. So Patrick we changed over CEOs. So we started the pandemic with one CEO, exited, and then Patrick came on board, Patrick Graff, our president and CEO at UPAF. And we did a complete structure change within our organization. That included my responsibilities, adding marketing under my umbrella, along a number of things, but there was a lot of change. And things were a little bit calm, but we did this transition through Teams and Zoom. So we weren't working together. We weren't in the offices. I did go into the office on Patrick's first day because I wanted to meet my boss. We wanted to make sure he realized that he started at UPAF. And that has been a challenge. I will tell you, and when I say a challenge, not a bad challenge, but just a challenge, learning how to, it's the first time in my career ever that I have had to take a new team and learn their personalities, motivate, go through a pandemic, go through a lot of change. You know, we've talked about pivoting. We've talked about reinventing. I've got a great team. The whole entire team at UPAF there's a number of people who've been there for many years, and there's a lot of, quite a few new people. And so it's been really refreshing, and everybody's easing into their roles. But I would tell you it's about now. I would say the timing is about now when everybody is getting comfortable with the new structure. So we've gone through a lot this past year. The campaign itself is, you know, we have had to make some changes and create some new ideas in order for the fundraising. When we started 2020, we were halfway into our campaign because our season is September 1st through August 31st. This was actually the first full year that we have gone through a campaign in a pandemic, working remotely and really feeling the full effects. So there's still some COVID-19 wins. And so we were all as a team working through that as well. And I would tell you, I think we're stronger from it.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to hear that you're stronger from it. And I think, you know, we have to focus on that. We have to focus on the positive, and we have to focus on the lessons learned and how we can grow. Sarah, just, you know, following up to that before we move on, any comments or thoughts on that theme?
Well, it just occurs to me how hard it is what Christine's doing, right? I mean, that is really difficult to fundraise like that in a pandemic, and also just to so good job. I mean, that's hard to do. But also like the scaling of the wins, right? So, you know, and in our world, like we're big, like everything is huge. And so like scaling wins for people where it's like, no, we did this well today. That's gotta be enough. And I'm gonna walk away going, that's enough. And so like even being able to get your team together live, you know, can feel like a real win. And so, yeah, it's just an interesting comment in terms of, because on our team, we've got some people that are just so committed to doing a great job. And then when they can't do the job that they want to do because of resource limitations or, you know, COVID related limitations, it is really hard to keep people like that motivated. So it's just, I think it's scaling wins and also recognizing for people when they do have a great win and it doesn't feel like that because it's not what they used to do. So I've learned how to I've tried to do that for people as well. I don't know if that had anything to do with your question, Bridget, but I'm really getting engrossed in Christine's answers. So I feel like.
And I don't know if this has anything to do with what you just said, Sarah, but I think it's really relevant for the Tempo group is that through all of this, and especially through all of the change that we've had with new leadership, is that people rose to the top. It gave them an opportunity to show their true talents and their skills, and people stepped up. And there have been, you know, some new roles created and some promotions in the process and some changes based on them just showing up every day and leading their teams.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at the time, before we launch into questions, and just a plug to my Tempo members and friends out there listening to please put your questions in the chat so Leanne can read through those. You know, I really just want to ask around what you're focusing on today, right? So COVID-19, blah, 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 it's here. Yes, got it. But in all honesty, when you're gathering with your teams, you're connecting with your one-on-ones, you know, what are you focusing on today to really drive home the success for your organizations right now? You both have a lot going on right now. So how do you work through and stay focused on, and what are you staying focused on? And I guess that, Christine, you're unmuted. Did you want to go first, or Sarah's muted? So either one.
You want to go, Sarah? Okay, no. So, well, we are, you know, this, I don't know, is not a fair question right now because we are in the last 3 weeks of our campaign. So we're really focused on fundraising and bringing every dollar in to support the performing arts. But aside from that, we're actually parallel planning and executing for the season. But it's been really, I will tell you, you talk about coming, you know, just going with the wave. We were supposed to be together the beginning of this week, our team. We were coming into the office for our staff meeting first fully together. And we had to change that based on, you know, the current circumstances that are going on just to make sure everybody is safe. So it's continually, for me, it's motivating, staying connected with people and not just doing it, you know, we're together here, all of us, but you need that one-on-one time. You need to find out what's going on with people, you know, in their personal life. There is so much that we don't learn from not being in the office or out with our friends or out with, you know, our business colleagues. And so that's been really what I've been focusing on, actually through the whole pandemic.
Getting to know folks, what's really going on behind the curtain on the other side of that camera to support them in every way possible. I like it.
Yeah, in a similar way, you know, in terms of what's right in front of us, you know, we're obviously similar to you, Christine. You're in the last 3 weeks. We're in the last 3 weeks ramping up. So, but the nuance for us, which is it's misnomer to call it a nuance because we just opened the new American Family Insurance Amphitheater with a $51 million upgrade and a brand new amphitheater, which will host many shows. So in the past, we just haven't done the volume that the business, the entertainment industry is just, there's so much inventory right now to get on stage because everyone's been, you know, pent up for a while. So we're busy planning and doing shows, and obviously watching, working closely with the health commissioner and watching all the different the stats, the procedures, those are, and as you said, Bridget, you know, it's a very fluid situation. I would tell you that, you know, it's something we look at every day and it changes every day as everyone's seen. So we are planning with more information to be available soon, but we're in the planning process. And so it's reacting just like everyone has been for the past, you know, 18 months as to what the next week is going to bring. So we're working through that. But in terms of just normalcy, it feels really good to get back talking about live music and really getting, you know, selling tickets, getting sponsors lined up, getting food vendors lined up. I think everyone's aware that staffing challenges are present in our environment. I don't care if I talked to someone this morning who has having trouble hiring X, and we're having trouble hiring Y, and they're having trouble hiring Z. So it's just a universal issue that everyone's working through, and I would count us among those as well. So it's all the myriad of business issues that any other business is experiencing on that front. And we're just, as these days I wish they were double as long, because right now I need more time in my day to get through it. So yeah, it's ramping up is probably the best way to describe it.
And I'm grateful too, not only for what you shared, but also the noting of the hiring challenges, right, and the staffing challenges. You know, our organization too, high level of open positions, because we interact with Lutheran Social Services, LSS interacts with, you know, patients, clients on one-on-one basis. And so it's just a difficult time. So thank you for noting that as well. That's something that we hadn't talked about. Leanne, I'm going to invite you to come put your screen on. I don't know why that word just went away. It used to be a verb, now it's a noun. If you could, thank you. Welcome, Leanne. How are you? Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely.
Leanne, do you have you're also a Temple Programming Committee member. Appreciate all of your great work there. Is there any questions or a question that you would like to bring forward right at this time?
Absolutely. We've had some questions come in. And so one of the questions that Carol wants to know is, how did the Buck Championships, how did they impact the planning for Summerfest? So I think that's a question that's going to go to Sarah then. Did they? And if so, how?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I mean, Bucks and 6, right? What a magnificent win. I mean, that was just incredible for the city and for the team. Not much impact. You know, the timing of the festival this year, you know, we're in September, so there wasn't much impact. And you know, we're thrilled for the team and for Milwaukee to gain such a spotlight. I think that you know, thrilled to bring the victory home. As a longtime Bucks fan, I'm tickled, but no real impact at this point. I mean, we just kept our nose down and kept planning, because that's what we were going to do during that time period. So
it's a good question. It's a good question, because it's like the general public is wondering, do you guys behind the scenes, are you talking to each other? You know, like, is there like a room that everybody goes to and, you know, shares the secrets, the secret sauce?
Well, and I mean, I've never been part of a championship, but I can only imagine how quickly life was happening for them. And just watching how that scaled continuously was I can only imagine that they were busy, and there is no secret room. No.
Thanks for telling me that.
Sure. Christine, I'll start with you with the next question, but it would be a question for both Christine and Sarah. How has COVID changed the way that your team looks at arts and entertainment?
And do you know if it means like looks like just?
Catherine asked the question, and that's as much as I can.
I can try to take it.
Yeah.
So, you know, thinking how the team looks, I think it's not just how the team looks. It is, you know, it could be, you know, how the entire community looks at it. You know, I think I want to start out, I always like to start out on a high note, but the arts never went away. The performing arts during the entire pandemic did not go away. We did UPAC provided regular funding to them during the whole duration. Which we typically do. That was very helpful. And like I said, collaborating with them, they were really scrappy. They pulled it together. They figured it out. What we were nervous about, and that was our campaign theme this year, which was play your part, support our artists. We were really concerned as well about the artists leaving the community or having to because they could not work, or if the arts didn't come back. National statistics are that 1 in 6 arts groups due to the pandemic will not come back. That could be updated, you know, in the next year, but 1 in 6, and that's big. And 2/3 of the groups nationally are not even going to be able to perform in 2021. So the fact that our members actually put together small ensembles, did, you know, they were doing performances for small capacities, but they never went away. And so when you ask about the team, I don't think the team has changed at all. We are there to support the arts. We know how important they are. I would say probably 100% of our group are patrons of the arts, and many of them are artists themselves, whether they dance, they sing, they're musicians, all the way up to the CEO. I myself am just a wannabe actor, but so I don't really think they have changed their perspective. All of our members have announced their 2021 seasons. So we're really excited about that. If you haven't seen that, check it out. And when, you know, kind of go back to what you talked about is what you're working on now. And I almost forget, because it's, like I said, it's the last 3 weeks of our campaign. I almost forget that we're actually at the same time allocating dollars to our members, because we bring it in and we allocate it out. And we do that based on what was raised last year. So we have so much to be grateful for and excited about. And we're working with all of our members right now. And this is a result of the collaboration. And I'll keep using collaboration, not just internally, but externally. We're working on a homecoming celebration for the community. All the members are participating. It's going to be free events and concerts and performances to welcome you into the theaters. They are very safe. They're safer than many other facilities out there. And so I don't think anything's changed.
Okay. Well, that's exciting and definitely something to look forward to at homecoming. So, Sarah, did you have any comments to the question? Have there been any changes that you feel are a long-term impact as a result of the COVID pandemic?
You know, I don't, I mean, our staff, you know, unfortunately, we talked about revenue before. I mean, in 2020, Milwaukee World Festival lost 99% of our revenue. So there were some pretty difficult decisions that needed to be made, and we didn't obviously take those lightly. So we're a smaller team than we started, but you know, but doing things differently. You know, I mean, we're still looking to maximize as much as we can and meet our goals. So I wouldn't say, I think that what I would underscore, you know, it's been fluid. It will continue to be fluid. I mean, I think that's the other part of this that in particular, for us, because it's an event, you know, it's like, okay, well, when is it over? When is COVID over? And I just don't know that we're going to be able to say that with any, you know, resolute date on it. So we're going to treat it as fluid, and in particular with our team, where we'll bring in resources as we need to. But I don't know that our team, with the exception of we're smaller, I don't know how we will look different, because we're just responding to what we're in right now and look forward to the next, you know, 6 weeks of Summerfest.
Okay, I want to follow up with you, Sarah. Question about the Foo Fighters. So what was it like to be in the amphitheater? What was the dynamic? What did it feel like?
Oh, what a kind question. So I cried all the way to work, and people that know me know that I don't cry often. And then I teared up again when I saw the lighting being hung, and then no, it was very emotional, but also really exciting, right? So like once you kind of got through that, because I was fairly involved in the project from the beginning, and so it was just really great to see it. But then it was, you know, you pretty quickly go into show mode, and I was worried about, you know, all sorts of things that needed to happen that day. So super emotional. I think the whole team and those that are partners, Frank Productions and Madison, and just everyone, all the people that it takes to get a show together. It was really, really fun. But the Foo Fighters, I mean, if anyone's a fan, they know that just how seriously Dave Grohl has taken his role in just bringing back live music and making sure that people are celebrating and recognizing what the whole production looks like for people's jobs and livelihoods. So, and emotional health. So it was great. Like bottom line, it was unlike anything I'd experienced in a long time. Thanks for the question.
It's a great question.
Christine, wondering if you know, you've kind of wove this, you and Sarah have kind of woven this through some of your comments, but if you had to list a best practice that you're taking away after working through this time, what would that be? Is that something you could summarize up a little bit for us?
Yeah, there's a best practice. You know, it's hard to say best practice. I'm not sure if that is the right word, but I do believe it's, you know, it's the ability for everyone to come together. Our performing arts members, you know, I talked about how we pulled together that coalition. And really, while it was about, it started, right, about supporting the arts, the local talent, and really this cultural ecosystem that exists, it really proves that we can work together on bigger issues and really use the arts as critical to bringing our community together. I think that was really a best practice that we did not know would come out of this. And I think it's just going to be better for Milwaukee.
Sarah, did you want to comment on that? Anything that you've taken away as a best practice that you're not going to let go?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've touched on that a little bit throughout, and you know, I think that just the creativity side of it, and always seeking the creative solution when faced with a challenge. I think we're all in a position to I'm Bridget, I'm going to use all the words, right? I'm going to use the word flex, and then I'm going to use the word pivot, you know, like all the things. As maybe sick of it as we are, it's real, right? Like, I mean, it's just I've gained patience. I've gained the ability to look at problems multiple ways, and in particular at speed, right? So it's not just it's, you know, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to think about that problem, you know, and I'm going to take time to think about it. Well, no one has time to think about that anymore. So I think it's all the things that we don't want to necessarily admit came out of the pandemic, but as women and as leaders, we know did. So I would just say embrace it is probably what I'm trying to do as my best practice.
I know one thing you talked about, Sarah, was disconnecting and the importance of doing that. I know I have trouble with that. It's hard, especially if you're working from home. It's always right there. It's so easy to walk into the office or stay in the office. How did you successfully do that?
Or did you? Yeah, I mean, that's
Tell us.
You know, I'm thinking, oh, good. That's a tough one.
I mean, I walk the heck out of a dog. I don't know if anyone else did, but like I, you know, as I mentioned before, we have a young child who is probably the best remedy to any sort of stress, right? Because she's just a joy, and I have an abs. I'm so fortunate to have her in our lives. So for me, you know, I think that you have to learn it for yourself. And for me, I personally, I got outside and exercised.
Okay.
And Christine needs no counsel on exercise.
Yeah, I mean, the triathlete.
Like what is it that you do, and how many have you done? Like what? I don't want to misrepresent your athletic prowess.
That's okay. I just triathlon, but we don't have to go there. I was actually, this is a really good, this could be a whole topic of disconnecting from remote work. Because I will tell you, I am good. I work out, you know, that is my release. That's my getaway. I enjoy it. Whether I'm swimming, biking, running, and now walking. And I do it in the morning. I do it at lunch. You know, I do it in the evening. But I will tell you, during the pandemic, I have to sign up or be involved in something in order to force myself to do it, because my office, I pass it every single day from the home. So that's what I did. I signed up for virtual runs and races and had goals, trying to beat everybody with the miles I could get in and things like that. But when that stops, it's really hard to disconnect. But I would encourage that everybody figure out a way to do that, because we all know we feel better when we do so. Go to see a show, go to see a performance, go to Summerfest, make plans. Plans are the best way to get away from your desk.
That's beautiful. Leanne, do you mind if I just look at the time and invite and just say thank you, Leanne, for doing such a great job? And I know there's other questions, but ladies, you know, I just want to ask before we close and sign off, is there any advice that you have, you know, to all of us on the call today that as we move forward, you know, we're all looking at you going, you're amazing leaders. Thank you for staying with it and with your organizations and with your teams, because you're bringing Milwaukee back and you're bringing us the ability to have our Milwaukee back. And I mean that. So please, please know we're all cheering for you. We're rooting for you. We're thanking you. But as we close in our last 1 minute, before we go to Kelsey and to wrap things up, any advice as we move forward? What would you want to say to the 50 of us on the call today?
I would just say that, you know, this is going to pass. Different times are coming. And so if you are struggling with anything, whether it's with work or personal, that this is going to pass. That's, I think, really, really important for everybody to see the light at the end of the tunnel. For work, especially, and I think for your home life. I mean, you need flexibility is key right now. And you need to be flexible. You need to roll with it, because change, it's going to continue to change. I definitely know that I have some people that I work with, as well as some friends, and they, you know, I know they're the black and white, and I'm more the gray. So I roll with it. And now is the time you have to roll with it. And I would just say, of course, everybody be safe.
So all of those things, but the one, so and that is excellent. But what I'll tell everyone, what has done me well over the past couple of months is get in your car, roll down all the windows, get in the freeway, and play your favorite song really loud. I guarantee you, it'll be an awesome experience. If you happen to be on your way to a show or on your way to Summerfest, even better. But you know, just find some time to listen to and enjoy music, because it's one of the ways that I think we'll all feel a little better. But, and also just, I know Christine says this too, thank you for taking the time to listen to us. I mean, this is really nice that people would take time to do it. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, Kelsey's coming back. Thank you both so much, Sarah and Christine. Appreciate you so much.
Yes, thank you guys. I echo that, and I'll just share really quick what Kathy Schwab posted in the chat, just because she wraps it up perfectly. But we are truly fortunate to have the two of you as such dynamic, inspiring leaders in our city and our region. So thank you guys, like Bridget said, just for bringing the return back to Milwaukee safely, and just so much excitement and momentum there. So thank you. And really quick before we hop off, I'm just going to share some upcoming events that we have for our attendees to register for. Visit our website to check these out. Our August program meeting is coming up Thursday, August 19th, Opportunities and Challenges Facing High Growth Companies in Southeastern Wisconsin. Our September talks next month will be on the branding of Milwaukee. So that'll be a really fun conversation virtually on Friday, September 10th. And then our September program meeting, our return to in-person programming, which we're super excited for, the future of talent pipeline, higher education, trends and implications, on Thursday, September 16th, extended time from 11 to 1:30 at the Italian Community Center. Registration is open for all of these events on our website, so please check it out. And thank you again to all of our attendees, our incredible panelists, Leanne and Bridget, and our programming committee for putting this on behalf of Tempo. Thank you guys so much, and enjoy your weekends.